Our life is not restricted or limited to a mold that we are given to fit into. And especially when we awaken spiritually, we cannot fit into the molds that we have earlier been finding comfortable. When we are growing up, we are all told that this is what success looks like. You're successful if you do this, if you make that much money, you find a partner, you settle in, you have kids. The way society has been functioning, this is the way you function. You make yourself more and more visible in in the 3D. You get more and more approval. The more fame you have, the more of everything you basically have. Even if you're unhappy, you must post a happy picture. You must have vacations, to write about, or to post pictures from, and to basically speak of, oh, I had this great, you know, experience in this particular place where I traveled to, and then have the whole world sort of know about it. That is what will add value to your experience. By itself, your experience is not enough. In the matrix thinks that your experience has to be validated by others. Your success has to be valued by others. It has to be coveted by other people. Your partner has to be seen as worthy by not just your parents and your family, but everyone has to see how lucky you got in having this kind of a person with these qualities and all that stuff, or the lifestyle that you live. It should be in a way where everyone should sort of approve of it. So everyone is sort of living off of the approval of other people. We're bouncing off each other's approval or disapproval, and it is obviously going in a certain direction, but it is extremely restrictive as well. So anyone who doesn't fit into this mold, let us say someone who you know doesn't get married, or someone who doesn't make so much money, or someone who starts becoming very spiritual, or let us say, in different cultures this will be different for different people, but say in the past divorce was frowned upon. So the rare person who got divorced, that you heard of, would be someone you would pity, or you would be someone that you would become an outcast of sorts, right? Or the rare person who started to become spiritual and started to maybe isolate themselves a little bit, because they need to go through their own process, they need to find their own path, would not be accepted into the mainstream. Everyone has this mainstream think. And if you're not in the mainstream think, you're not in the mainstream process of living your life according to what everyone else is doing. If you're saying, hey, I don't pursue money, you know I'm in a space where I magnetize, or I just know that whatever needs to come to me will come to me at the right time. Or you say, I'm not pursuing a relationship, or that is very frowned upon. Or you say, hey, I'm not interested in marriage. Again, culturally, if you especially come from traditional cultures, this will be, you'll be seen as somebody very unfortunate, especially if you're a woman, right? So the matrix will never ever allow individuality. Individuality is the death of the matrix, because the matrix basically, it operates on the same group think, that everyone should think the same things, value the same things, have the same knowledge. And of late we consume the same social media, we consume the same news. We are all on the same. Many of you may not be right now, but maybe in the past you understand the broader context in which I'm referring to this. We all consume the same social media. So we all know the same news, everything is what is trending on Twitter. Earlier we didn't have these trends so much, but now all of us know what is really going on in the world to the same extent, to the same level. And all of us can are either subscribing to one kind of an opinion, which supports that issue, or the other, the opposite of it, the polarization that we've seen in the world. It's either this, you support this side, so hence all of these opinions, which are supportive of this, or that. And of course, the mainstream news is extremely agenda driven. News channels, everyone has obviously picked their sides now, right? And they have always been but now more overtly so. Earlier it was more covert, it was very hidden. Now it's the polarization of the mind, of the human mind, is for everybody to see. No one is just roaming around without an opinion. It's very rare for you to meet someone who says, I'm apolitical, I don't have an opinion on what's happening, I have this or that opinion. When earlier it was easy for us to meet people who were not that invested in what was going on. Now it's almost like you may be, well, at least in the matrix, you may be targeted. You may be called an intellectual sloth or inconsiderate if you do not know what is going on politically in your country or in the world, right? So the matrix does this because it wants you to feel shame if you ever try to break out of the matrix. So it attacks you through the instrument of shame. If you are a woman from a traditional culture who is not married by a certain age, the matrix will use the instrument of shame, that it knows you have the residue of that shame, or you still may be carrying that from your own conditioning, your own past, your own family system, and whatever may still be even showing up in your present that you are yet to let go of. It knows how to control you, right? So, this is just the way it works. It knows how to bring you back into the same groupthink, into the same societal standard, that you cannot deflect away. You must not become an individual. You must not really think for yourself. And even the term I think for myself, which is actually appropriated by the matrix, it still means that you may think, you may feel you're thinking out of the box, but you're not. You're still fitting into some kind of a box. Okay, I don't want to study the sciences, but I want to study the arts. So, at one point of time, that would mean that I'm thinking out of the box for my life, but I'm still fitting into one kind of a box. But a spiritual seeker, and twin flames are all spiritual seekers, they they don't fit into any of these boxes that the matrix can conceive. Nothing from the matrix is meant for a twin flame. It is meant to come to the twin flame, to the seeker from the matrix. Okay. Because matrix is a very limited reality. It is very confining. It seems to have too much, it seems to, feel important, but it is actually a huge trap, and it captures you through shame. It makes it difficult for you to leave it through the instrument of shame, as well as through low self worth, as well as through this evolutionary biology trait that we have where we need validation from others. When we were, cave dwellers for a very long period of time, the human civilization was like that. We developed certain instincts within us, even genetic traits developed, where if we were not going to be a part of a group, we would, if let us say we were ostracized by a group, when we were tribals, we all were, ost- being ostracized meant that you would die alone, because there would be wild animals, there would be a lot of things. Division of labor was in such a way that it helped the entire group. So not being a part of the group meant that it would be impossible for you to survive. So this instinct kicked us that we have to be a part of the group, we have to live like the group. This instinct is what comes up in us when we are children, when we are small, and we start to give up our authenticity to just be like the group, just like go to school, do this, follow our family structure and all of that. Obviously we are small, we don't know any other way, we also want safety, protection. But when we grow up, this group becomes larger, it becomes maybe our peer group. As teenagers, it can mean that, we want to now impress our peers, we want to be included, we want to be invited to parties, we want to be included. We don't want to be seen alone. Imagine if there is lunch break in your school, and go back to your own memories. Like, this was one of my fears in school, was like, what if I'm ever spotted alone in the lunch break eating my tiffin alone? you know so teenagers, obviously, they shift that belonging from immediate family to the peer group, and then later on it becomes, your college students or your colleagues, and then all these people with the advent of social media, all the social media. In the past, it may have been all my extended family, my community, my village, right? What are they going to think about me? If suddenly they don't think that I am fitting in, then the primal fear, the evolutionary biology, fear that I will be ostracized, and being ostracized is equivalent to death. Hence, that is why it feels so scary when you don't have validation, when you don't have that support, when you don't have someone else understanding what you're going through. So some people can think that now I'm going through a spiritual awakening, and now I must explain my awakening to others. And of course, the other who's not gone through the awakening will not get it. They're not meant to get it. So you feel even more alone. And sometimes you think, now maybe I should try to look normal. Inwardly, I know I have become highly abnormal. Normal, of course, here meaning that what is considered acceptable, what is considered to be, mainstream. If now I am becoming an outlier, I must at least pretend and wear a mask, look a little bit like I am a part of the mainstream. So, herein, for a twin flame, this means a lot of energy is wasted in keeping up that mask. And a lot of guilt comes in that I wasn't even able to be my authentic self. So, very slowly and gradually, you release these fears and you just have the power to become yourself. You start realizing that the safety that the matrix was giving to you in terms of validating you was a very, it was not permanent safety. That permanent safety, it would change its thought processes every minute. You would have actually never felt safe as being a part of that group, even in your teenage years, or being a part of that family and listening to everything that they want you to do, studying what they asked you to study, and so on and so forth. You never felt like yourself. The safety and the love was never unconditional. It was always conditioned upon you do this. God forbid your thought process changes a little bit tomorrow, then I am not in agreement with you and I am happy to ostracize you. So, what we see today also in our political mainstream, the cancel culture or something else, right? So, if you're not like this, then you're not accepted, or if you don't belong to this faith, then I don't want to trust you, or whatever else, right? On both sides of the politics, we see this, that we have become, or we probably already were, and maybe this is just now even more so highlighted. We've become intolerant of the other, another opinion, another thought process. So when was this group ever going to give you any safety, or ever going to give you any acceptance? Whether it's the group of family, the extended family, the friend group, the social media, the people you went to school with, college with, the ones you worked with, extended family, cousins, when were they ever ready to accept you as you were? Perhaps very few people would have accepted you exactly as you were. Very, very few in your own life. Maybe you yourself can think about it and know, yes, okay, this person, maybe a mother or a grandmother or an aunt or a friend who just didn't mind, who didn't want anything from me, right? But a very, very rare, very, very small number, because this is the nature of the matrix that all of us are plugged into. So you must know you will not find safety, authenticity, etc. in this group think. Even if you are still seeking validation from others, or you're still trying to explain it to others what you're going through, or you're afraid of what the path that I am walking on, that my soul has chosen to walk on as a twin flame, because this is not just a romantic connection, this is a full and complete spiritual transformation. So this is why you don't go around finding your twin flame. The journey finds you, and you don't even know that this kind of a journey is what is there, is what was going to actually find you, right? And you may have heard the term twin flames, but you really don't know what it actually entails. So for twin flames, the validation, the support, the security, the safety, will not come from the matrix, will not come from those who are still subscribing to the matrix. This actually is something you must give to yourself if you are still seeking it. It must come from within you, from your soul. It also cannot come from another spiritual seeker. It also cannot come from another twin flame. It also cannot come from your 3D counterpart. So that's one more trap that divine feminines can fall into, is to say, I want this love and this safety and security from my divine masculine. In the beginning of the journey, this is what it is. You're projecting your, inwardly, one may have never felt fully loved, fully seen, fully recognized, and that entire energy gets projected onto the 3D twin flame, and one is expecting some kind of a rescue to come from the 3D divine masculine, which the divine masculine refuses to do because they want to see you in your own power. They know you're capable of, deep down in their soul, that is the whole purpose of it. Not consciously, they may know this, but deep down in the soul, this is the purpose, that you awaken to your own power. What if you suddenly wake up and realize that your true self never needed rescuing? That you never had to seek love from outside. You never needed that validation. That survival based fear was never supposed to be your true self. It was just the conditioning, just because being born in the matrix, that's how it is. You're made to feel incomplete. And then you spend a whole lifetime or lifetimes trying to complete yourself with the outer, whether people, achievements, things, objects, situations, right? And all of this is being inflated in the whole mirror of social media for the last 15 odd years now, right? So, this is all I wanted to speak about, that you are divine and you are whole and complete, and you don't need anything from the outside to complete you. And this is the purpose of you becoming a twin flame, you coming into this lifetime as a twin flame, you experiencing the journey in this lifetime. It's to wake up to your true self and to stop seeking the very limited, the very less, the very unfulfilling love, or, masked love, conditional love, and conditional safety, conditional validation, conditional approval from the matrix. It's not your job to try to make people around you happy. You cannot make anyone happy by molding your behavior and all of that. That is all um, surviving, which is based on trauma. It comes from our past experiences when we people please. And sometimes, very often, more often than not, people pleasing is shown to be, some, it's praised as some self-sacrificial wonderful thing that you're doing for other people, like it's compassion. It's not compassion. If you're unable to be with the discomfort that other people feel when you be your authentic self, it doesn't mean that you're now supposed to mold your behavior to make yourself palatable to them. That means there is fear present inside of you. You can just allow the discomfort. You can allow your own fear to be seen, to just become aware of the fear present. That when I become authentic, it is very scary to be authentic. It's very scary to live my truth. Let's be open about it. That is when transformation can take place. Other people's discomfort with your authentic self is not your responsibility. As difficult as it sounds, or as counterintuitive to the moralistic teachings that we've been given in the matrix, that we must keep other people happy, we must do this, we must do that, that's not how it is in reality. Everyone is responsible for the reality that they create, as well as the emotions that they have. So many twin flames are somehow experiencing the experience of being an empath, because of the family situations they've experienced, and it makes them feel responsible for how other people are feeling, and it makes them give up their authentic self. The authentic self lays buried deep down. So this is also a very very important part of your divine feminine awakening journey to union, that you embrace your authenticity, you fearlessly say yes to who you are, and you allow the discomfort that you feel in expressing that authenticity that's going to happen. But you nonetheless, you anyway become authentic, you anyway be who you are. And yes, I hope that this has been helpful. If you wish to work one on one with me, we go very deep in these sessions. You can see the types of sessions that I offer. There are three types. If you're coming for the first time, then you book the first type of session if you wish to. You can also book the second type if you wish. That is, all the detail is in the first link in the description box. And you can also subscribe to my Patreon, where videos go very deep. There is spiritual wisdom, lots of deep dive stuff, what twin flames to help you if you feel called to do that. Sending you love.